Well, Alibaba had them 40 thieves, Scheherazade had 1,000 tales. But master, you in luck, 'cause up your sleeves you got a brand of magic never fails. You got some power in your corner now.
Over the years, people have been entertained by various media, including radio, books, television, plays, and movies. Walt Disney Animation has been the primary source of animated films to entertain the public. From Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs to Finding Nemo, there has been an evolution in Disney's style of communication which has enabled them to broaden their audience. On November 21st, 1937, Disney released his first film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, based on the Brother Grimm's fairy tale. A simple story of a young girl attempting to escape the jealousy of her evil stepmother. Snow White was created simply for the entertainment of children. It's interesting that the movie was actually dubbed too scary for children in England, and children couldn't see it without being accompanied by a parent. 3 years in the making, the film was a huge success, grossing around $8.5 million. The average cost of a movie ticket in 1937 was about 10 cents, which equates to an audience of around 15 million people. The New York Times called Snow White sheer fantasy. With more experience and confidence, Disney created Pinocchio, based on the Italian children's book by Carlo Collodi. Once again, a cute little tale about a puppet that has ambition to become a real boy. Pinocchio is what historians call the most detailed and technologically perfect Disney film of all time. However, after 4 years of production, on its initial release on February 9, 1940, it actually lost money and was considered a box office flop, grossing around $2 million with an audience of only around 7 million people. It wasn't until later it became a Disney treasure. Disney continued through the years, creating masterpiece after masterpiece, such as Bambi, Peter Pan, and 101 Dalmatians, just for the entertainment of children. But on April 24, 1970, with the initial release of the Aristocats, Disney began to include humor that was not only appealing to children, but to adults as well. One of the techniques used to attract a wider audience includes the recruiting of the vocal talents that are also very popular and widely recognized through television, movies, etc., as opposed to the voices of unknown actors in the earlier Disney creations. In the Aristocats, Eva Gabor plays the part of Duchess, the mother cat. Eva Gabor was very popular in 1970 due to her unforgettable role in Green Acres as the Hungarian wife Lisa Douglas, which aired from 1965 to 1971. Up to this time, Disney voices came from such talent as Sterling Holloway, starring in Winnie the Pooh, The Jungle Book, Alice in Wonderland, Bambi, Dumbo, and the Aristocats. Phil Harris, starring in Robin Hood, the Aristocats, and the Jungle Book. Also, Pat Buttram, starring in Fox and the Hound, Robin Hood, The Rescuers, and the Aristocats. These voice talents, while regulars in Disney productions, were not necessarily widely recognizable big-name talents. With the inclusion of big-name talents, Disney also began to blend the personality and characteristics of the actor behind the voice into the personality and look of the character. The New York Times stated it would be hard to imagine a more disarming woman in distress than the purring heroine Duchess, played by Eva Gabor. It was also evident that the plot and humor used in the Aristocats was aimed to appeal to a wider audience. The New York Times also commented that one of the funniest characters in the Aristocats is a goose named Uncle Waldo that has been marinating in wine and attempts to greet his two favorite nieces while he is drunk. And the plot revolves around a will that is to be signed, which makes an old woman's cat her beneficiaries ahead of the butler, who later catnaps the cats in order to become the first beneficiary. 4 years in the making, the Aristocats grossed around $56 million and was seen in theaters by approximately 34 million people. This was the first film to be produced without Walt Disney's supervision because he died December 16, 1966, shortly after the production of The Jungle Book. Walt Disney also died before the opening of his new theme park in Orlando, Florida, Walt Disney World, which opened October 1st, 1971. He had already completed a theme park in Anaheim, California, called Walt Disney Land, which opened July 17th, 1955. Walt Disney World greatly influenced the economy of Florida by attracting tourists from all over the world. Almost everything you see in Walt Disney World and Walt Disney Land is based upon a Walt Disney movie. So, in a sense, you could say that Walt Disney Animation greatly influenced the economy of Florida. Today, there are even Disney theme parks such as Disneyland Paris and Tokyo Disney Resort. Disney has even opened a Disney cruise line. Next up is The Little Mermaid, released November 15th, 1989, starring actors such as Jodie Benson, Christopher Daniel Barnes, and Buddy Hackett. The Little Mermaid is full of comedy that is loved by a wide range of audiences. The New York Times stated teenagers will appreciate the story's rebellious heroine. Adults will be charmed by the film's bright, outstanding, pretty look and by its robust score. Small children will be enchanted by the film's sunniness and perfect simplicity. They also commented on the scene with the chef and the crab. Kids will enjoy the mayhem of this sequence, just as their escorts will appreciate the little Gallicisms scattered throughout the lyrics. From the seagull to the crab, and the flounder to the sea witch, there is humor that is appealing to both children and adults. The Little Mermaid grossed around $112 million and was seen in theaters by an audience of about 30 million. The New York Times said, Walt Disney Pictures renovated the animated feature, not only with an eye towards pleasing children, but also with an older, savvier audience in mind. Disney truly bridged the generation gap with The Little Mermaid, bringing the genre new sophistication without sacrificing any of the delight. Disney scored another win with the release of Beauty and the Beast, starring Angela Lansbury as Mrs. Potts. Well known for her role as Jessica Fletcher in the television series Murder, She Wrote, which aired from 1984 to 1996. Also starring Robbie Benson, a defined Broadway actor. Beauty and the Beast was the second film ever to use the CAP system, or computer animation, specifically in the ballroom dance scene. Beauty and the Beast also won an Academy Award for Best Song. 3.5 years in production, Beauty and the Beast grossed around $146 million and was seen in theaters by about 35 million people. On November 25, 1992, Walt Disney Pictures created one of the best Disney films of all time, Aladdin. Most all of the adult humor is delivered by the most memorable Disney character of all time.
Never duplicated. Genie of the Lamp, right here.
The genie is played by comedian Robin Williams, best known for his high-energy, anything but stand-still, stand-up comedy act. Williams' energy and impromptu impersonations of such big names as Jack Nicholson, Rodney Dangerfield, Groucho Marx, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Ed Sullivan, as well as simple inanimate objects, were the heart of the comedy in Aladdin. The New York Times states, "What will children make of a film whose main attraction, the genie himself, has such an obvious parent appeal? They needn't know precisely what Mr. Williams is evoking to understand how funny he is. The crazily antic pacing of the genie's outbursts will be utterly familiar to small viewers, even if they can't identify a lightning-fast evocation of the Ed Sullivan Show. What will come through clearly to audiences of any age is breathless euphoria of Mr. Williams' free associations, in which no subject is off-limits, not even Disney itself." Aladdin also included another well-known comedian, Gilbert Gottfried, as Iago. 5 years in production, Aladdin was a huge success for Disney, grossing $217 million with an audience of over 52 million. Walt Disney Animations have continued to be successful in appealing to children, teens, and adults alike, with subsequent films featuring main characters played by and identifiable with well-known comedians such as Eddie Murphy, Ellen DeGeneres, Rosie O'Donnell, Roseanne Barr, and David Spade. Popular film and television talents such as James Earl Jones and Michael J. Fox, and pop legends such as Elton John and Phil Collins. The way in which Walt Disney communicates their messages has drastically changed over the years in order to appeal to a much broader audience, including adults and teens. Each generation is going to understand and interpret these films differently, but Walt Disney animations will always be entertaining for all. In the words of Walt Disney himself, "You're dead if you aim only for kids. Adults are only grown-up kids anyway."
You ain't never had a friend.